What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we got Michael Voss of the almighty Mad Max. Thank you for your time today.
Hello, all everybody out there. Hope you're having a good time, even in quarantine as well. We have to go through it. What can we do?
Exactly. That's just got to work your way through it. If you're going through hell, keep going.
Yes.
Yep. But it's so awesome to have you here. You have your new album, Stormchild Rising, coming out on the 21st. You just want to talk about how the making of this record was, like the songwriting and the recording and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, definitely. If you got some time, I will do.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've been doing, like collecting songs and going on tour, and every 2 years. The last album is the 35. Album is 2 years old, and like last year we've been sitting together with a record company, and they said, okay, you can start if you have a tour coming up that we can present the new album with, you can go. And so we have been invited to do the support stuff for Axel and Rudy Pell, and then we said, okay, that's great, let's start to record an album. And I was collecting riffs, everybody was collecting riffs, and getting like rudiments of songs together, like lyrics together, and finally we had, I think, 14 or 15 songs and 11 made it on the album, and we built that up and recorded those over a period of time, about 2 months, like last year. And so we are very happy now that these songs with a couple of wonderful guests, they're coming out like on the 21st of August.
Are you ever worried that the songs you left off the record are going to be a B-side one day and just be the biggest hit you guys ever had?
Jesus, this is such a crazy thing. I think we have two or three songs, that went back into the closet, but. I think we have a bonus track, or do we have? No, I don't think we did it. SPV said, okay, let's go for value for money and put all your ideas on it, and this is what we did. I mean, and I think then we've got a bonus version in the Ladies and Gentlemen song, where we have two versions, like one English version and then a mixed version between German language with the kids choir and our English version, and but that's it. And,
okay.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that maybe the two singles you released off, such as Hurricane and Talk to the Moon, this doesn't serve as like a clear representation of the whole album then, right? This is just the beginning, you would say?
Yeah, well, I mean, these songs have been picked by the record company, but great. I mean, they're track numbers 1 and track number 2, and I said yes. I mean, the first song is like with a rainbow riff, like a Richie Blackmore rain. It's such a up tempo song, and number 2 is like a homage to Ozzy Osbourne, like Bark to the Moon. And yes, I mean, if you like this kind of music, like Rainbow, Darken, Scorpions, and then you definitely have it.
Mm-hmm. Could Stormchild Rising, do you just consider this in a way picking up where you left off after 35, or do you almost in a way like consider this a new beginning for Mad Max?
Well, I think this Stormchild Rising is like it's not a concept album, but we said, I mean, the album was supposed to call Hurricane at first place, but our guitar player Jürgen came up with the idea, maybe it's good to have somebody like last year, as what happened last year, to come up with a kind of hero we had in '85, where the people were asking, are you going to do such an album again, or is the Stormchild that you had in '85, is he coming, is he rising again? And we said, well, that could be an interesting thing as well, like to have somebody standing there as a symbol for the good and to fight the good fight. And then we finally decided to call the album Stormchild Rising, because I said that might be an interesting thing. And the musical in the musical way didn't change, or we don't want to invent ourselves. It's this album and this music is for the likes who really into it, the 80s, and that's what we do, and we try to trigger their bits and see how far we come with it. We love it.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like I'd imagine that, like you being that Mad Max started in the 80s, and like I think you really developed like a perfect sound that already has many different possibilities. So I feel like Mad Max has the best way of being able to experiment with your sound but not deviating too far from what people know you for, right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it makes it's kind of heavy rock, something like that, with a pedigree of fast songs. We don't have a ballad this time. We don't have immense and tremendous keyboards, just here and there, maybe a slide keyboard. But this is definitely guitar-driven music, and it should sound like on the album, like we sound live. So it's real roaring and exciting and meaty and punchy. So that's the way, with a lot of melodies. So that's the way we want to have it.
Mm-hmm. Being a vocalist, do you need to hear music before you come up with lyrics, or is there a time where maybe like a story or a subject matter could help maybe influence the music itself?
It depends, because in the when we wrote the album, nowadays, I mean, I'm not watching TV that much, but we are more into watching like Netflix or Prime, and they got great series there. Like one was, for instance, I can tell you what that was triggering me to go for and write the song Mindhunter, the lyrics from Mindhunter, and there was a series of Mindhunter, and so that's the message in that song, where you can see, okay, I was influenced by this TV series, definitely Mindhunter.
Mm-hmm. So it almost seems like inspiration comes from a lot of different sources for you.
Yeah, it can be a story. It could be a thing that happens to you in the supermarket or whatever. It happens every day. I mean, I just have my ears open and my eyes as well, and see, okay, what comes there, and then you can sit down and say, well, you should write down some lines, or you start or kick off with a riff, or the guitar player has a wonderful idea. Say, well, this is my riff, or this is my lyrics, and I'm open.
Yeah.
We throw everything into the middle and say, okay, which pieces could we work out.
Yeah, and I was having a discussion about this with another band I was interviewing before you. It almost seems like whether you realize it or not, life is going to influence you one way or another. Like people say that art is their way of escaping reality and escaping life, but fact of the matter is that life is influencing you in any regard.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you almost like need to look for inspiration, or does inspiration just come out of nowhere?
It depends. I mean, I'm an experienced songwriter, so I'm writing for a lot of people, a lot of different kind of music. So if I sit down and say, well, there's a new Mad Max album coming, and it's not really mathematics, but there are patterns that you use if it's a fast song, and then. But if these riffs I develop on the guitar riffs, I develop sitting on the couch and just practicing. And when I come up with a riff that I like, I just record it on the iPhone and leave it there. And so when it comes back to a production or what, I'm going through the ideas that I had on the iPhone, like, and say, okay, that's interesting, or say, well, not, and okay, I take it that way. So it depends. It could be this way, it could be left, it could be right, it could be middle. So whatever, I just soak in music and say, okay, let's see what we can do with it.
Yeah. Do you like to leave the music open to interpretation, or do you try to engage the listener into the story of Mad Max?
To leave the story open, like in the lyrics.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. Sometimes you leave that there's a solution for it that you can hint on, and sometimes you leave it open that you got to use your imagination. It depends. Sometimes the story is closed, or sometimes it's open. Sometimes a topic is a light topic, or it's a love topic, and sometimes it's really these are angry words, or just to wake you up, like in Hurricane, hey, wake up, there's a message. Yeah, it depends what message you want to follow. In Hurricane, it's the message, it's time to wake up, it's 5 to 12, and we got to change something, otherwise the planet is going down. Yeah, everybody's got to get their stuff together, and let's do something.
Yeah. When it comes to also, because you being such a prolific artist, like I know that, playing with Mad Max, but you've also played with Wolfpack and other artists, is the mind frame a little bit differently in the creative aspect of what you do, or is there a usual method behind the madness that applies to everything?
No, I mean, Mad Max are different characters. Like, for example, like Wolfpack with Mark Sweeney, he comes up with ideas, with lyrics that are pre-written, and we want to heavier. So it's more metal in there, where we try to be a bit more metal, like in tuning, maybe guitars down a bit and a bit and a bit, half note, half note. So it's a different one, and we don't know with Wolfpack who is singing there in the end, because first we write the songs for Mark and my voice, and then afterwards we are collecting the guests, and we don't know when we write the songs, like we have 10 songs ready at this time. We don't know who will be the lead singer joining us.
Yeah, and you've also collaborated with a lot of artists too, like with Axel Rudy Pell, and I know that you contributed. Correct me if I'm wrong. You contributed guitars in a Doro track before as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a bit. That was yeah.
Yep.
So I love to make music. I like to talk to musicians. I like to meet people who are in the business, and because I'm a fan as well, and. Whenever I'm, for example, when I'm working with Michael Schenker and say, Michael, tell me the stories. How was it? How was it? You got to tell me. And then he's telling me the stories, and sitting there like a kid in the candy store and say, wow, that's incredible. Or even if we are working with Paul Shortino on the last album, who's a good friend, and he was good friends with Wendy Dio and Ronnie James Dio as well there. So he's been managed by these, and he knows all the stories, and that's why we came up with the idea. Let's do maybe a cover version of Take Her from Rough Cut, and so it's really special, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'd imagine working with so many different artists makes you discover new things about yourself as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is totally interesting when you give your pedigree to it, and you work with all these artists, like from Steve Lukather to Simon Phillips. I mean, I work with nearly everybody. So, and it's I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, in terms of, because I know even though you do vocals and Max, like being also a guitar player, like I've always like admired like the solos and stuff that you've contributed. Like, do you have like a theoretical background behind what you do as well, or are you more on the self-taught level?
No, I started definitely. I started until my fingers bled, definitely. So the first that was the kind. I mean, I never had a teacher to show me. I just teach. I was taught by Michael Schenker, by Gary Moore, and I was listening to the old records, recorded these on tape, and played them half time, just to see what the fuck are they doing there. And then I learned at halftime, and that was the only chance to get really to get it started from there, like in the lead parts and stuff like that. And I had the heroes, and I met all the guitar players that I wanted to meet, and from Eddie Van Halen, Yngwie Malmsteen, and Michael Schenker now, and so it was great to talk to these guys and say, hey, how are you playing? And they mostly, like Michael Schenker said, well, I'm just playing. I mean, I'm glad you like it. That's very easy.
Is there any new modern day guitar players that you find admirable as well? Because I mean, there's some amazing talent out there coming from newer bands as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't. I have to say, I don't follow the music scene right now because I have so many things to do in my studio. But I think that there are so many good guitar players out there. I can't count them anymore because everybody, in 40 years ago, there were a couple of outstanding guitar players, and the rest was okay. But nowadays they play incredible. These kids, wonderful.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is because like a lot of people want to say that with like guitar technology, you know, you don't need the skill anymore, and there's so many loopholes around it. But I mean, I see some of the technical excellence of these guitar players. It doesn't seem like they're half-assing anything.
Well, it depends, you know. I mean, we had then, like in the 80s, we had this from Vinnie Moore, and they had these guitar clinics and these videos you could watch, and of course you could use. But there is nothing against if you are just taking a couple of lessons and get the classical background as well, like Randy Rhoads was using. Yeah, so there is nothing against it. So to get a couple of theory in there, why are you playing these notes? What do these notes mean? And the most important thing, nevertheless, is just to find your own vibrato, find your own way to express yourself, and don't give a shit on just playing faster and faster. If you can do it, fine, but try to find your own niche where you can play whatever you feel.
Yeah, and because I feel like you do the two instruments that are in charge of conveying emotion. Like with lead guitars, like even though there's no lyrics, I think they convey just as much emotion and imagery as
Yeah.
vocals do, and you really capture that. Is it fair to say, like, especially when listening to the album, because I thought that Eyes of Love had a very different vibe than a song like Gemini or Kingdom Fall or
Yeah.
Mindhunter. Is it fair to say that
Yeah.
like everything you write is almost like an expression of an emotion that you were feeling?
Well, that's definitely that. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's like it's like an actor. You slip sometimes in a role and say, "Wow, what was the feeling in this scene?" Or like a part of a movie scene, like an introduction scene, like you have in the big compositions of Beethoven and stuff like that as well. So first you have the opening, then you have the fast part, then you have a slower part, you have the adagio part, and a solution part, and so it's music, and there has to be. It's nice if you have these roller coaster rides in the songs or during an entire album production. That's always lovely. Instead of going just a time oink ink. So it should be like a 40 minutes trip. I say, well, that's interesting. You've got this color, you've got this color. Let's make it match. Wonderful. I like it.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I like talking about this with artists because, being an artist myself, like, I've always thought that, like, it's really hard for me to put things down. Do you find it maybe, like, the longer you're working on something, the harder it is to kind of, like, maintain that creative or emotional spark in a way?
Well, it depends. I mean, sometimes you can do things in 5 minutes. Sometimes you've got to come back. Sometimes you have maybe a riff and it doesn't fit, and then you come back, and then you stick to a song and the other. I mean, it's a democratic thing in a band as well. So if you like a song and the other three say, well, we don't know, then I say, okay, it's not a problem. Then I take it for another artist or for a project or whatever. But as long as you can express yourself in writing music or lyrics, and you finish the idea, and that's what counts. Just that you are a musician and are able to express yourself in using your talent as an instrumentalist or as a singer, and you have a message. Everything is from value. I like it.
Being both a vocalist and a guitarist, is there anything that ties the two instruments together for you, or do you feel like you just had to master two separate arts?
No. It just. I mean, it was a bit strange. I started with Mad Max. I started with Mad Max as a lead singer. I wrote the songs, and because I had already two guitar players, and I was singing there, and it was a bit strange where I was hopping on stage and just having doing the Coverdale without the guitar. But I had to do that with Michael Schenker again 10 years ago. But I mean, after a while, okay, you feel comfortable with that as well. Just don't play guitar, just sing it. That's fine. But it's a different role. And nowadays I can say, well, the guitar belongs to me, or even another instrument, or a bass. I play bass as well. I love playing bass. It's wonderful because it holds everything together, the foundation, together with the drums. It gives you the vibe, it gives you the depth and the warmth and the punch. Bass is such a great instrument. To sing and play bass is great as well. I mean, you have such great musicians who do it as well, like Glenn Hughes or Jack Bruce was doing it.
Sting.
So many great artists. Sting, wow. Yeah.
I think Sting, like, is obviously everybody's entitled to their opinion. I think when it comes to singing and playing bass, Sting is the ultimate master of it.
No, I have one more above Sting, and he's the greatest. I think Paul McCartney is number one.
Okay.
He's great. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we could agree to disagree.
Okay. Good. Okay.
But I will say this: it feels really good because obviously throughout, I think since the formation of rock and roll, people love making bass player jokes and saying whatever.
Yeah.
But bass is so important because it has an emphasis on both rhythm and melody at the same time.
Definitely. If you have to know that a lot of bass players wrote the most important songs, like in UFO, Pete Way, one of my best friends, he wrote these lyrics, like these bass lines, or Steve Harris of Maiden. And they have the fundament, and they bring the warmth into the music. And bass, or even an AC/DC, if they don't have the fundament with these incredible played 8 notes, that it would not work.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Absolutely. But
Yeah,
AC/DC is one of those bands where, like, to have, like, first of all, I think they lucked out because I think they had two of the greatest frontmen ever in rock and roll, or two of
yeah,
some of the greatest frontmen in rock and roll, because Bon Scott
yeah.
and Brian are both phenomenal. And just Malcolm and
Wonderful,
Angus are a guitar
absolutely
match made
smashing.
in heaven.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And ACDC next. This is. What can I tell you about ACDC? Everybody's important. Like Malcolm Young was the master of rhythm guitars, together with Cliff on bass, with Phil, and or later on with Chris Slade. This is the perfect match to rock music. If you want it hard, if you want melodies, if you got everything. If you want show perfect, it's perfect.
Yep. And Back in Black is now officially the second biggest selling album in history. So,
Yeah, but what an album, and produced by Mutt Lang. I mean, not a single weak note on the entire 40 minutes album. Not a
exactly.
single note.
Yep.
Just incredible notes and performances.
Yep.
Wonderful.
And that's very difficult to do. That's lightning in a
Yeah,
bottle.
that's this to achieve is a masterpiece, and they did it. I mean, what can they invent new? They did invent everything. What can they do?
And I have one more question for you, if that's cool.
Yeah.
The most difficult question of the whole interview. I stumble everybody with this. Are you ready?
Yeah.
How do you know when a song is done?
Well, this is I know when a song is done when I press on bounce on my machine and said, okay, bounce out the song as a WAV file and an MP3 file, and it goes out, and I'm relax. I've got all lyrics together. I got all the instruments together, and produce it the way I feel it, and then for me, it's done.
Wow, that was a very methodical answer. That was actually a very good one.
Yeah. So it's a different one, but that's the truth. But in the end, when I'm sitting alone there and write a song alone or produce a song alone, that's an important that I have, because I can work on drums, I can play bass, I can play the keyboards, I can sing, and then after 2 days, I say, okay, there's nothing more to say. I don't have to discuss with anybody. If I write a song and say, well, I'm working now for 2 days, and I have it mixed. I like the mix, and I say I've got it mastered, and now I bounce it out. Thank you very much. Like it or hate it, I don't care. It's done.
That was a very concrete way, and I love it. Very good. I
Okay.
feel like you should write a song just about that.
Yeah. Okay, Alex. That's a good one. When do you know when the song is done? That's a great one. I love that.
All right. Just don't forget me when you write it.
No, Alex. Of course not. Good.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Just
Thanks for talking to you.
of course,
Yeah, thanks for
Stormchild
talking.
Rising is coming out on
Yeah.
August 21st.
Yes.
Is there just anything else you would like to promote? Like, obviously, when the pandemic is over and shows are back, can we be seeing you bring this on the road?
Yeah, stay tuned. Believe in rock music. I mean, I'm so grateful that we had on this Mad Max album. We had Ronnie Romero singing with me. We had Oz Fox playing lead guitars, treading the guitars with me, and we got my good friend Paul Shortino. Wonderful time. I hope you guys out there like our music and give it a listen and enjoy. Just enjoy and stay tough.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Michael. Everybody, we are here with Michael of Mad Max. Be sure to pick up Stormchild Rising out via SPV August 21st. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We will see you next time.